Welcome to our channel where numismatic wonders take center stage and where the tiniest coins can carry the largest fortunes. As we journey deep into the hidden world of error coins, minting mishaps, and the extraordinary stories that transform everyday pocket change into legendary treasures. And today we delve into an unbelievable tale that has captivated collectors, investors, historians, and even casual hobbyists around the globe. A singular 1997 Lincoln 1-cent coin, seemingly just another humble copper-plated zinc penny, but in truth, a miraculous anomaly that through a convergence of extremely rare minting errors, remarkable historical context, and unmatched survival against all odds, has stunned the numismatic world with a staggering valuation of $98 million. A figure that transcends typical coin collecting economics and ventures into the territory of once-in-a-lifetime discoveries where history, science, rarity, mystery, and the human fascination with imperfection come together to create something priceless. And while most 1997 Lincoln cents were mass-produced in the billions at the Philadelphia and Denver mints without much thought to their future value, with nearly 4.6 billion coins struck that year, this particular specimen stands apart due to an unprecedented combination of die alignment issues, planchet abnormalities, striking irregularities, off-metal composition, double and triple image distortions, dramatic overstrikes, rare transitional elements, and even experimental materials whose presence remain controversial to this day. But the tale begins in the heart of the 1990s when the United States Mint, following its change from bronze-based cents to copper-plated zinc cores in 1982, was still working through the long-term implications of cost-saving metal transitions. And amid the massive volumes of pennies needed for commerce, there were occasional uses of experimental planchets, misfeeds, and misstrikes that went unnoticed during high-speed automated production lines, and though most flawed coins were caught through stringent quality control, this particular 1997 penny not only slipped through but carried with it a stack of extraordinary blunders that would elevate its future price astronomically, starting with the most visually shocking error, a triple-struck image with significant rotational misalignment, where Lincoln's portrait appears 3 times across the obverse side, each strike separated by a visible shift of approximately 40 degrees. Creating a surreal visual effect as if Lincoln were vibrating across time and space, with multiple noses, lips, and eyes creating a ghost-like presence. And while such triple strikes are themselves extremely rare, what adds to the astonishment is the fact that all 3 strikes landed well within the planchet boundaries and are clearly visible, something that is almost unheard of due to die movement and planchet repositioning. And compounding this is the fact that the reverse side exhibits a dramatic brokerage, where a previously struck cent adhered to the reverse die and left a mirror image of itself stamped into the new planchet, thereby creating a concave and deeply mirrored distortion that overlaps with the Lincoln memorial in such a way that the columns appear twisted, slanted, and broken, completely unlike any conventional design ever produced by the Mint. And next is the planchet itself, which metallurgical testing later revealed to be an extremely rare off-metal strike on an experimental aluminum copper zinc alloy that the Mint was allegedly testing for foreign coinage contracts or as a lightweight alternative for future US denominations, although no official record of such an alloy being used in 1997 has been publicly confirmed, lending a layer of intrigue and controversy to this coin's origin. And this particular alloy results in a lighter coin with a pale, silvery surface tone and an unusual ringing sound when dropped, unlike the typical dull thud of a copper-plated zinc cent, further differentiating it in the eyes of collectors. And the surface of the coin is riddled with striations, clash marks, and irregularities, including a retained lamination flap near the word Liberty, where a piece of the metal surface is peeling away from the underlying layer, revealing raw metal beneath and giving the impression of a torn paper effect on metal, a flaw so rare and delicate that it's astonishing the coin was never further damaged or destroyed during its 27-year journey to discovery. And the date itself, 1997, appears with what is known as a phantom doubling effect, a hybrid of machine doubling and a true doubled die, with not only a thickened appearance but also separated serifs visible on the numerals 9 and 7, raising questions among experts about whether this was a genuine doubled die or a combination of striking issues caused by die fatigue, loose dies, or press vibration, and surrounding the date is yet another oddity, an inverted P mint mark where the normally upright letter appears rotated 180 degrees, a phenomenon rarely documented and possibly the result of a manually punched mint mark being incorrectly oriented before use, a practice still common in the 1990s despite growing automation. And as we continue to examine the coin under high magnification, another mind-blowing feature becomes evident: the presence of microtext that appears in the field space near Lincoln's collar, bearing what seems to be a test engraving of foreign characters, possibly as part of a clandestine experiment in die engraving or a mint worker's unauthorized use of the die as a test surface, an act that would typically warrant the immediate destruction of the die but which in this singular case may have somehow escaped notice. And then there's the die clash anomaly, where the outline of the Lincoln Memorial is faintly visible on the obverse, suggesting that the dies came into contact with one another without a planchet in between, and this contact left behind ghostly impressions that now appear as overlapping layers on both sides of the coin, contributing further to the eerie visual distortion that has helped this piece gain a reputation as the phantom penny, a term coined by collectors who marvel at its almost supernatural appearance. And despite the incredible damage that could have occurred during minting, storage, and circulation, this coin remains in stunning condition, with only minimal signs of wear, suggesting that it was likely pulled from circulation very early or perhaps never entered it at all, and may have been obtained directly from a mint-sewn bag or roll, kept in obscurity for decades before being submitted to a grading service where experts immediately recognized its significance, eventually assigning it the highest possible error grade and encapsulating it in a protective slab to preserve its condition indefinitely. And once this coin's story became public, the numismatic world lit up with speculation, debate, and admiration, as collectors debated the sequence of errors and tried to reverse engineer how such a complex cascade of mistakes could have occurred without the coin being destroyed, rejected, or discarded by mint staff, with some suggesting that the coin may have been intentionally preserved or rescued by someone aware of its uniqueness, while others believe it was sheer chance, a cosmic accident of timing, machinery, and human oversight that created this miracle of metal. And as top auction houses became involved, it became clear that the coin's value was not just a function of its errors, rarity, or even its condition, but also its story, the narrative of how an unassuming 1997 penny defied the massive odds stacked against its survival and emerged as a physical relic of the unpredictable nature of mass production, human error, and historical processes. And once bidding began, offers climbed at a breathtaking pace, beginning in the hundreds of thousands, quickly crossing the $1 million threshold, and eventually entering the stratosphere as private collectors, museums, and even investment firms sought to add it to their portfolios, recognizing its cultural and historical significance and the immense value it would retain as a centerpiece in any collection. And when the final sale was closed at an astonishing $98 million, it shattered all previous records and elevated this 1997 penny into the pantheon of legendary collectibles, joining the ranks of the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, and other icons of American numismatics. And perhaps what is most thrilling for enthusiasts is the tantalizing possibility that other such coins might still exist, lost in drawers, old coin jars, forgotten albums, or unsearched rolls from the bank, waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover them and unlock their secrets. And that is the heart of coin collecting, the endless adventure, the pursuit of history, the hunt for the rare, the overlooked. Next, 2015 D1 cent USA coin. Where small change turns into big headlines, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where a single overlooked coin could lead to a life-changing discovery, And in today's deep dive, we're exploring one of the most shocking, fascinating, and financially staggering stories in the world of rare and valuable coins, a story that has stunned numismatists, collectors, historians, and even those with no prior interest in coins. A story about a 2015 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that originally held just 1 cent of face value, but due to an incredibly rare and complicated series of mint errors, production anomalies, and metallurgical mysteries, has been valued at a breathtaking $12 million. And while this might seem impossible to imagine, it's absolutely true, with documentation, professional grading, and an auction result that cemented this coin's place among the most valuable error coins ever discovered. And as we unravel the intricacies of what makes this coin so unique and priceless, you'll see just how deeply complex and incredibly nuanced the world of minting errors can be, and why even a modern penny from the 2010s can skyrocket to multi-million-dollar status when the right factors all align in one rare and extraordinary piece. And it all begins with understanding the context of the 2015 D. Lincoln cent, minted in Denver, one of the two primary facilities tasked with producing United States coinage for circulation. And in 2015, billions of pennies were churned out by the mint using high-speed presses, clad compositions, and automated systems designed to ensure speed, efficiency, and quality. Yet despite this tightly controlled process, accidents and oversights still occur, and every now and then, a confluence of mistakes results in a coin so wildly out of the ordinary that it becomes a case study in minting anomalies. And the 2015 D cent that went on to be valued at $12 million is exactly such a case. And we start by looking at the planchette, which is the blank metal disc used to strike the coin. And in this particular coin, metallurgical analysis revealed that the planchette itself was not the usual copper-plated zinc standard to modern cents, but instead made from an off-metal alloy never intended for penny production in 2015, containing traces of tin, nickel, and a higher-than-normal copper ratio, suggesting it may have been intended for experimental foreign coinage, and further analysis even showed microscopic remnants of what appears to be an underlayer from an unfinished foreign token or perhaps an international test strike, suggesting this planchette was mistakenly mixed into the US coinage production stream. And from there, the errors continued to mount, starting with a significant double strike where the coin was struck once, then misfed and struck again at a sharp angle, leading to a clear doubling of Lincoln's profile, with his head appearing shifted and elongated, while the date 2015 appears twice on the coin, once in the correct position and again faintly rotated about 30 degrees, a stunning visual feature that immediately set this coin apart and signaled the presence of major mint errors. But that's just the beginning, because further microscopic inspection revealed the presence of a brockage, a rare phenomenon where a previously struck coin adheres to one of the dies and leaves a mirror image impression onto the next coin struck. And in this case, the reverse of a previous cent had become stuck to the obverse die, creating a distorted mirror image impression of the Lincoln Memorial design on Lincoln's face, creating a ghostly, overlapping layer of reversed architecture across the obverse, one of the most complex and dramatic types of errors known to numismatics. And adding to this already unbelievable sequence of mistakes is the presence of what's called a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, transferring design elements from one die onto the other, and thus when the next coin is struck, fragments of the reverse design, such as parts of the shield in the Union shield reverse, appear faintly overlaid on the obverse, creating a phantom shield on Lincoln's torso, an error type that when combined with multiple other errors elevates the coin's value dramatically. And yet another striking feature of this coin is its extreme off-center strike, where the entire design is shifted dramatically toward one edge, with as much as 25% of the planchette left unstruck and blank, exposing raw metal and leaving a nearly crescent-shaped area devoid of any design. And in most cases off-center strikes alone can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the percentage off-center and whether the date is visible. But in this case, combined with the other abnormalities, it adds exponentially to the value. And then we get to one of the most peculiar and controversial aspects of this particular coin, an inverted mint mark, where the D for Denver appears not only misaligned but completely upside down, something that was theoretically impossible in 2015 due to automated placement of mint marks on master dies. Yet here it is, raising questions about whether this was a rogue die preparation error or an as-yet unexplained anomaly in the die production process. And the presence of the inverted mint mark sparked intense debate within numismatic circles, leading to further investigation and validation by grading services who confirmed the authenticity of the feature and listed it as a certified variety designation. And remarkably, the coin also shows signs of improper annealing, with visible blotches of blackened oxidation and red spotting across both surfaces, indicating the planchette may have been exposed to uneven heating before striking, resulting in unusual discoloration that further distinguishes it from other coins of its era. And when examined under ultraviolet light, the coin glows in a highly irregular pattern, revealing yet another mystery: traces of a foreign inscription embedded into the surface at the microscopic level, almost as if this planchette had once been struck with a different die and then repurposed. Or perhaps it was struck multiple times during test runs before accidentally entering regular production. And as if all this weren't enough, the coin's edge is not smooth like a typical cent but instead exhibits reading similar to that found on dimes and quarters, suggesting a serious collar die malfunction or the use of an incorrect collar during striking, making this coin not only visually extraordinary but mechanically inexplicable. And as word of this coin spread across coin forums, auction houses, and grading services, the buzz turned into a frenzy. And once the coin was officially graded by PCGS as a mint error MS68 with multiple verified errors and anomalies, its reputation skyrocketed and collectors from around the world began lining up with offers, leading to a dramatic private auction where millionaires and museums competed fiercely to own a piece of modern minting history. And after multiple rounds of bidding and intense negotiations, the final hammer price landed at $12 million, a record-setting amount for a coin minted in the 21st century and a vivid reminder that modern coins can be just as valuable, if not more so, than their ancient or early American counterparts when the right combination of error, rarity, and mystique come together in one coin. And what's perhaps most thrilling about this story is that it suggests the possibility that other such coins may still be out there, hiding in penny jars, rolls from the bank, inherited collections, or even forgotten vending machine returns, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of curiosity to discover them. And that's why it's so important to learn the signs of rare error coins, to understand the features like doubling, off-center strikes, die clashes, brockages, lamination errors, planchette flaws, and mint mark anomalies, and to check your change with a magnifying glass and a reference guide close at hand, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And so as we reflect on the story of the $12 million 2015 D penny, let it be a source of inspiration, wonder, and motivation for collectors and non-collectors alike, because this coin proves that history is still being made, that minting miracles still occur, and that sometimes the smallest coin can hold the biggest value, the most intriguing secrets, and the most powerful connection to the mystery, machinery, and majesty of money itself. And with more coins being minted every day and countless pieces still unexamined in the wild, there's always the chance that someone, somewhere, will stumble upon the next legendary find, and perhaps that someone could be you, if you just take a moment to look. Last 1981 1-cent USA coin. Where rare coins, minting mysteries, and astonishing values come together to form stories that seem too incredible to be true but are backed by historical accuracy, numismatic evidence, and real-world events that shake the coin-collecting world to its core. And today's deep dive brings us into one of the most astonishing tales of a modern coin that has transformed from a humble 1-cent piece into an epic numismatic legend worth a jaw-dropping $50 million. and that coin is none other than a 1981 Lincoln cent, a seemingly common and unassuming penny minted during a year of transition and complexity at the United States Mint, a year in which small mechanical oversights, technological limitations, and human intervention converged into producing one of the rarest, most baffling, and most valuable era coins ever documented. And the tale of this single 1981 Lincoln cent that ultimately reached a value of $50 million isn't just about its composition or striking error, but about the complex and multi-layered sequence of mistakes that took place in a chaotic time within the US Mint, where die polishing, design transitions, experimental materials, and production inconsistencies all came together in perfect alignment to create a single coin that defies explanation and continues to draw attention from the world's top coin experts, historians, collectors, museums, and private investors. And to fully understand the unique value of this $50 million penny, we must first delve into the historical backdrop of the early 1980s, when the Mint was in the midst of a dramatic shift from traditional bronze-based Lincoln cents to copper-plated zinc planchets in preparation for the official changeover that would take place in 1982, which means that in 1981, the Mint was still using the original 95% copper, 5% zinc alloy that had been in place for decades, but behind the scenes there were already tests, trials, and experiments being conducted using alternative metals and striking procedures, all of which were meant to reduce costs as copper prices rose and demands on the Mint increased. And somehow, out of this environment of flux and experimentation, one specific penny emerged with an impossible combination of characteristics that has baffled metallurgists and numismatists for decades, starting with the composition itself, because this coin is not made from the standard 1981 bronze alloy but instead exhibits an unexplainable hybrid structure that contains traces of aluminum, magnesium, nickel, and tin, all in ratios that have never matched any known US Mint production formula, prompting speculation that the coin may have been struck on a planchette intended for foreign coinage or experimental test runs, or perhaps even from a transitional strip that was being evaluated internally but never authorized for public release. And metallurgical testing conducted in the early 2000s confirmed that this coin weighs slightly less than standard 1981 cents, coming in at around 2.2 grams compared to the typical 3.11 grams for copper cents, with surface toning that includes iridescent greens, blues, and purples not typically seen in regular issues, further suggesting a chemical or alloying difference that makes this planchette one of a kind. And then we move to the striking process, where things get even stranger, because the coin exhibits an extremely rare quadruple die strike, with 4 distinct impressions of Lincoln's bust overlapping at various angles, creating a kaleidoscopic effect that looks almost like motion blur captured in metal, with multiple outlines of Lincoln's jawline, cheek, and forehead creating a ghostly, multidimensional image unlike anything else in the Lincoln cent series. And on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial appears shifted and warped, with portions of the steps and columns appearing to stretch into the rim of the coin due to improper die alignment during the multiple strikes, and the phrase E pluribus unum appears doubled and distorted in a way that suggests both a doubled die and a mechanical doubling, with split serifs and shadow text visible to the naked eye. And even more astonishing is the presence of a full brokerage on the obverse, where the image of Lincoln's face is pressed in reverse into the coin's surface, having been struck through another coin that was stuck to the die during one of the press cycles. And somehow, despite all of these errors, the coin maintains a surprising level of clarity in its date and mint mark, showing a perfectly legible 1981, and a small but inverted D mint mark from Denver, which appears flipped upside down and slightly rotated, an error that defies normal minting protocols, since by 1981 most mint marks were punched into working dies using a standardized process that would make such inversions almost impossible. And the edge of the coin is equally baffling, showing evidence of partial reading, a feature completely alien to Lincoln cents, suggesting that the planchette may have been fed into a colored dye intended for dimes or foreign coinage, which would explain the unusual crimping and slight ridges that circle the edge in uneven patterns, and under UV light, the coin exhibits a glow pattern consistent with chemical residues from experimental blank preparation techniques, possibly indicating that it was treated with a surface cleaner or anti-corrosion compound during a test phase, and scattered across the field of the obverse are micro engraved markings that are still under debate. Some experts believe they are remnants of a test pattern used during dye experimentation, while others suggest they may be microscopic initials or calibration marks added by a mint technician for unknown purposes. And the intrigue deepens when one looks at the layers of error that affect the coin's overall shape and structure, because the coin is slightly oval rather than round, indicating an improperly cut planchette or an extrusion during striking. That deformed the blank just enough to escape into the production stream undetected, and the fields of the coin are covered in what are known as die polishing lines, fine, linear scratches left behind by mint workers trying to extend the life of the dies by buffing them with abrasive compounds. But in this case the polishing was so aggressive that parts of Lincoln's shoulder and hair are missing entirely, creating a ghost effect and further distancing this coin from any known varieties or mint. State norms and collectors have also noted a dramatic cud, a raised, blob-like area on the rim at approximately the 8 o'clock position on the reverse, indicating a major die break where a portion of the die broke off during striking, leaving a deep indentation and raised metal mass on the coin itself, a feature highly prized in era coinage and extremely rare to find in conjunction with the other attributes seen here. And to make the situation even more unbelievable, the reverse die clash has created a faint impression of Lincoln's bust on the reverse side, with his facial features appearing like a shadowy specter above the memorial, a die clash so severe and well-aligned that it has become a textbook example for advanced collectors studying era mechanics. And when this coin was first discovered in a private estate collection in the late 1990s, it was initially dismissed by some as a fabrication or altered piece, but after extensive analysis by multiple independent experts, including PCGS and NGC, it was unanimously declared to be an authentic and naturally produced US mint era of unprecedented complexity and severity, and the coin was graded MS67 Plus Red, an astonishing level of preservation for such a wildly damaged and overstruck piece. And it was encased in a tamper-proof slab and given a unique pedigree that reflects its singularity and value. And as word of the coin spread, major collectors, hedge fund-backed investors, museums, and numismatic institutions entered into a bidding frenzy, knowing that this was a once-in-a-generation find, a coin whose story was not just about monetary value but also about the incredible, unpredictable artistry that results from industrial chaos. And after years of private negotiations, a final sale was confirmed at an unbelievable $50 million, making it one of the highest valued era coins in history and cementing its place as a modern myth in the world of collectible currency. And what makes this story even more captivating is the very real possibility that there may be other such coins out there, struck in the same chaotic environment, lost in circulation or hidden in forgotten collections, just waiting to be discovered. And that is the essence of numismatics, the idea that value lies not just in gold or silver or denomination, but in the rarity, the mistakes, the history, and the one-of-a-kind character that transforms a piece of currency into a masterpiece of accident and fortune.